4. The death list. Half a month after that case, I returned to the station. Although that case was no longer my responsibility, I would inadvertently inquire about its progress. I had a premonition that this matter was far from over. Because in my theory, Shannon wanted to trade Daniel Stone's life for Long's. That would be killing two birds with one stone. Crystal wanted to trade her own life and Shannon's life for Daniel Stone's life and one unknown person's life. Daniel Stone was under police protection and didn't die. Margaret's death settled that debt. But there was one more person. Who was he? A life was in dire danger. As a police officer, I couldn't ignore it. I immediately made a bold decision to investigate on my own. I told Mr. Miller about this idea. Mr. Miller didn't even hesitate before agreeing. That afternoon, I took Mr. Miller, along with a paper containing the matrix, to the nearest university. We managed to invite a senior professor. He told us that if this matrix was a password, it definitely had multiple meanings. If we were to calculate it, it would be an extremely complex number. Upon hearing it was to help solve a police case, he quickly agreed to calculate it for us. After a while, another elderly-looking professor entered the office. He glanced at the professor working and joked, "Wow, solving problems are we? Who is this playful fellow with this signature, Thea Tills? So profound." "Was it you?" I smiled and answered, "No. I didn't think so. You don't seem like that type of person," he said, casually picking up the teacup on the desk and taking a sip. I suddenly had a realization. Did he know what Thea Tills represented? I was pleasantly surprised and asked, "Do you know what Thea Tills means?" "Of course. I'm a police officer. Please, you must tell me what it represents." He hurriedly set down his teacup, shook our hands, exchanged some pleasantries, and respectfully began, "It's a game, a letter arrangement game. As a child, my parents would give me several English letters and have me randomly combine them into words, practicing my vocabulary. Over time, I developed the ability to quickly decipher the meaning of English letters. Thea Tills, to me, it's death list. In some countries, it's a little game children play, though it's not very common in our country. Look, Thea, T-H-E-A, Tills, T-I-L-S. Try rearranging them, death list." "But where does the letter D come from?" I asked, confused. "You could interpret it as a transformation of D from the entire phrase Thea Tills, though that's too simple. There's a deeper explanation. The elderly professor wrote the letter D on the paper beside him, speaking mysteriously. In ancient Egyptian symbolism, D represented a door. It possessed a legendary power to draw boundaries. As for what it was dividing, I believe they are quite clear when viewed as a whole." "Would you like to hear the origin of this phrase?" The elderly professor seemed to have only scratched the surface of the topic, and his eyes told me he still wanted to continue. "No need," I said with an awkward smile. Now that I knew it represented a password, a death password, Mr. Miller and I had achieved our purpose. There was no need to waste more time here. I thanked the professor and told him to stop calculating. Since we now knew this matrix didn't represent meaningless numbers, there was no point in continuing. After thanking him, Mr. Miller and I got in the car. In the car, I spoke first. 336, 337 should represent the crime scene in rooms 336 and 337. But what does the number 34 represent? And what about 520? Wait a minute. Look at the bottom. I continued. What about 921? Trying to match these numbers horizontally didn't yield any other meanings. But what if we matched them vertically? Mr. Miller, when is Long's birthday? September 21st. Mr. Miller's eyes suddenly lit up excitedly. This should represent the dead person's birthday. Right, exactly. Shannon's birthday is April 18th. 34 is Building 3, Floor 4, Margaret's address. There's still one person, I muttered to myself. What does 520 mean? After returning to the station, I searched for every reference to 520 in the city. There were hundreds of rooms numbered 520 just in the downtown area alone. It was practically impossible to monitor every location around the clock. We had to cast a wide surveillance net across the city. I reported my findings to the station, and they cooperatively assigned me to take the lead on this operation again. But we didn't know when he would strike. For us, it was a battle where the enemy was in the open and we were in the shadows. In desperation, I had to temporarily mobilize personnel from various departments to form a special task force for surveillance. Over the course of a month, we conducted about a dozen surveillance operations, all ending in failure. I even began to doubt whether that final number truly represented a room number. The station was putting pressure on me, insisting I catch the killer. Those nights, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. One evening, Mr. Miller invited me out for drinks, but I declined. When it was time to sleep, I suddenly remembered something. Didn't the knife that killed Shannon have fingerprints on it? I had asked Mr. Miller to investigate this, but he hadn't given me results yet. Before I could think much further, my eyelids grew heavy and my head throbbed. I finally fell asleep. In my last moment of consciousness, I stared at the numbers on my phone screen, and my right eye twitched involuntarily. 176-60871-3309. When I woke up, Mr. Miller was sitting across from me, and I found myself bound to the bed. I shouted at Mr. Miller. Why? Why, Mr. Miller? No reason really. It's all for my brother, he said. Who's your brother? My limbs went numb from the rope's tightness, my voice tinged with pain. The first person to die was my brother. He laughed bitterly, tears seeping from his eyes. Justice or family, I don't know which to choose. Matthew, stop investigating. I swear there will never be a fourth person after this. Mr. Miller, I shouted with all my might, trying to appeal to his conscience. Yet in the next second, I questioned what conscience even meant. My father told me to kill you. You're the last person on the list. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. You're my brother for life. But you told me before that you had no father, that you were an orphan.
How?
My mind was chaos, my entire being radiating disbelief. I am an orphan, but I have a foster father. A few years ago, my foster father took me in and raised me. He gave me endless care, allowing me to become a police officer. His only condition was that I never reveal his identity. But now he's given me permission to tell you. Who is your father? I asked. Officer Zhang. This name was more familiar to me than any other. He was Uncle Zhang, the gate guard at the station who had always treated me like family. My entire world suddenly collapsed. I couldn't believe that the kind, gentle Uncle Zhang would be a murderer. Silence and silent psychological acceptance were all that remained. Mr. Miller turned away from me and said, Actually, I suspected my foster father even earlier. I secretly checked the fingerprints on the knife, but before the truth fully emerged, I still couldn't believe he'd actually do it. My foster father once had a son named Mark Zhang. He was a police officer who died when Shannon reported the case to rescue her father. The day Mark went to save Shannon, she had already been assaulted. Her father was also already dead. The loan sharks had long fled that desolate high-rise, leaving only Shannon, disheveled and broken, lying on the ground crying. He wiped at his face and continued, "As you know, having experienced such trauma, Shannon's mental state was on the verge of collapse. Mark was carrying her down the stairs when Shannon suddenly lost control, thrashing wildly on his back. Mark couldn't maintain his footing, and he fell from the fourth floor. But Shannon, using Mark as a cushion, survived. This has been my foster father's lifelong pain. He doesn't see his son's death as honorable. He sees it as a tragedy. Why should his son have to die for someone else? So he orchestrated all of this. He killed Long, preventing Daniel from entering the motel. Shannon was supposed to kill Long, but through a twist of fate, she was killed by Crystal instead. And the rat poison, he had planted it in that cell days beforehand, so he could silently take Crystal's life. Why did he prevent Daniel from entering the motel? I asked. Crystal's leverage was only her own life. She couldn't exchange for a spot on the death list, he said slowly, word by word. Then what about Margaret? Did Uncle Zhang kill her? No, Crystal did. On the way to the motel, she had already put rat poison in Daniel's water glass as backup insurance. As for why Margaret drank from that glass, I have no idea. I said nothing, my throat tightening with the impossibility of determining right from wrong. I composed myself and asked, "Uncle Zhang?" He turned himself in, he said heavily. His heart still upheld absolute fairness. One life for one life was his rule, his bottom line. Since he killed someone, he went to turn himself in willingly. Then what does 520 really mean? I asked. He answered without hesitation. My foster father wanted to tell my foster mother something. 7/18 is my foster mother's birthday, March 9th. He wanted to end everything on this day. One last question. Who are you really? I demanded. Wait, 718 wasn't Auntie Zhang's birthday. I'd celebrated her birthday before. March 9th couldn't possibly be today. It's already April. While I might believe the earlier information, what he's saying now is definitely false. He stood there, rubbing his uniform. After a moment, he removed his police cap and slowly spoke, just the son of a loan shark. Then he released the ropes binding me and left a pen behind, a pen with a recording device. I wanted to question him further, but once I stood up to chase him, he gave me no chance. By the time I reached the outside, he had already vanished without a trace. Later, I found the answers in the recording pen. It contained a recording of Mr. Miller's voice. Matthew, I'm sorry. I lied to you again. This was the last request Uncle Zhang gave me. Uncle Zhang has been inescapably kind to me, and I cannot disobey him. If you have time, go see Auntie. She might not be able to handle this right now. Uncle Zhang probably successfully turned himself in by now. He said he couldn't face us police officers, but he said he has no regrets. Don't go see him. Mr. Miller resigned from the police force and disappeared into the vast sea of humanity. Uncle Zhang had always done far more for me than my irresponsible, alcoholic father. He treated everyone with that warm, helpful demeanor. Perhaps it was exactly this goodness toward the world that, when heaven seemed unjust, produced the ultimate evil. Later, I learned that Thea Tills actually meant heaven's gift.